All right, everyone, welcome back. This is episode number 3 of Two Catholic Dudes. My name is Ryan.
My name is Danny Cleary.
And we'll say it once more. We are not priests. We are not theologians. We are just two Catholic dudes, and we're talking about our faith.
Absolutely. And today, super excited about today's topic because we're going to talk about the funny, crazy things that have happened to us while we're at Mass. Both of us are heavily involved in Masses in different aspects, completely different aspects. And, you know, as beautiful and incredible as Mass is, humanity is messy and sometimes crazy stuff happens.
That's true. This morning, something crazy happened to me as well. Super funny. But before we get into that, let's do a little bit of shopkeeping.
Yep.
We just want to say a quick thank you to all of our great supporters. It's only been one podcast, 2 for you guys, but we're filming this third one before we released our second one. But such a great support for that first one. A lot of great comments, subscriptions, likes, shares. That's really important. We want to make this community grow and thrive. We want to get it out to as many people as possible, and we can't do that on our own. So we really rely on you to share this with your friends and family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another great thing is we got so many Instagram followers just in a week. We have 160 now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we had like 100 in the first few days. And that's just awesome. We had 50 the first day we made it, which is like the craziest thing. So we just want to thank everybody for jumping in and supporting us and
if you like
being part of this journey.
If you like what we're doing, please keep continuing to share because we want to get that snowball to roll and have this thing grow. If you really like what we're doing, we did start a Patreon page. You can find us over on patreon.com/Two Catholic Dudes, and you can support us financially to help us grow this channel into something more. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for anyone that wants to do that much.
Absolutely.
And all the social media accounts, find us on there. And you can now listen to all your audio podcasting sites as well, your apps, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, CastBox, whatever.
We're there.
Thank you guys for that. So today, again, we're talking about funny things, crazy things, exciting things, anything that's happened at Mass out of the ordinary. And let's preface this, though, because we don't want to do this in an irreverent manner, right?
Right, of course.
But like you said, humanity is messy sometimes, right? Mass is a beautiful, beautiful thing. We are in union at Mass with all the angels and saints. We say that before the preface, before our Eucharistic prayer.
Yeah.
We are in communion with all this all the angelic hosts, and it's a beautiful thing. That's the most beautiful thing we could do as humans, but...
Well, and we're celebrating the holy sacrifice of the Eucharist, and it's just this incredible thing. But at the end of the day, funny stuff happens because humanity is flawed, and we as humans, things happen. And so... I just think, how can we not laugh about it?
You've got to be able to acknowledge it and laugh about it. Because look at this, like Jesus came down to be one of us, to experience all of humanity. He didn't want to just experience the pious nature of what a human can be and being able to revere God. And that's obviously extremely important, but he wanted to come down and experience all of it, the pain, the suffering, the joy, the love, and the humor. I'm a pretty funny guy, I like to think, and I find the humor in everything, probably too much.
Probably at the worst possible times.
Right? I find it hard to turn it off. But that's okay, and it's important to experience it all. So we're going to do that, but it's, again, important to do it with a sign of respect and reverence towards God,
right,
and make sure that it's not poking fun at.
Absolutely not. Yeah, we're just, like I said, we're just going to laugh and share some experiences that have happened to us and things that we've seen that just happen to happen during Mass.
Yeah.
But anyways,
by the way, before
yes.
we get to that even, coffee update, in case anyone's following along.
Yeah.
I have not been getting coffee every single day. I've just been doing it on the days that we podcast. But this is only like 3 podcasts in, and it's actually starting to grow on me. So, Pete, thanks for the great support.
Wow.
Hit us up for sponsorship. All right,
okay, so on topic of funny, crazy things that have happened in Mass, things that derail. This morning happened to you. Talk about it. What's going on?
Today, you guys are viewing this in the future, but today is the Assumption of Mary, and it would normally be a daily Mass. This is a Thursday morning. Monsignor asked me if I could play music, and of course I said yes. It's a little early for me, but no problem.
That's what you do.
So. That's what I do. So I get up and I'm ready to play. I actually wrote the responsorial psalm for the day because I've been going through a process of writing the responsorial psalm for every single Sunday of all 3 liturgical years. And I normally would not have one though for this celebration. It's a Thursday morning, so I look at it, I'm like, I don't have that. And I was at first I'm like, I'll just let them read it. But like, that's not my style.
Not your style.
That's not my style. So I spent Tuesday like 2 hours working on it, and I actually came up with something that I liked. The tone of the Mass was a little bit more traditional because you got like the hardcore Catholics that go to the daily Mass.
Yeah, people that go to daily Mass, they're set. They're set in their ways. Yeah. It's the same like group of them that they do their thing. So you don't want to interrupt.
So I'm like, I'll write one a little bit more geared towards that style. That's fine. So, and actually, I really liked it. So we get to Mass, and I sing the gathering song. It's fine. They all sing. And we get to the responsorial psalm, and the lector gets up, and he reads it. And then we get to the psalm, and I'm like, my hands are coming down on those keys for the very first note, and he just barrels in. He's like, the responsorial psalm is, and he just jumps right in. And I'm like,
Did you hit the piano at all?
Not on that one.
It wasn't a situation where it's like, bink,
because that happens a lot. That was not the case. I was about to, and he just jumped right in, and he had a booming, loud voice, and everyone, and people in the congregation were looking at me like, oh, you were about to play. I saw it. And, it was frustrating because I wrote this song and I wanted to play it for everyone, but it was a little bit of a humbling experience in that moment because Mass is not about me. That's a reminder that Mass is not about me. Or anything that I write or anything that I sing, but it's again a funny thing that happened. So I was like, all right, that's it. The rest of the Mass is going to be fine. Yeah. So I skip past it. I'm like, they'll hear it next year. It's okay. Get to the offertory now. Monsignor gets up and they're on like auto mode for daily Mass. They do the
same thing every day.
Yeah. So he jumps into the prayer that they say at the preparation of gifts. I don't know if there's a name for it.
Preparation of the gifts.
The one where we respond, blessed be God forever.
Right.
So we say that, and I'm like, oh, there's another one coming. I can't jump in. I was going to do Ave Maria. I can't jump in play now. Like, what am I supposed to do? All right, that's 2 songs. So like, cut, skip past it. I'm like, guys, come on. It's all right. It's okay. Maybe I'll do it for a meditation. We get to the Eucharistic prayers. We get to, with all the angels and saints, and I'm like, here I go. And this one, I actually did. I started playing the first couple of notes, and he jumps in, holy, holy, holy. I'm like, okay. And 3 now.
Like, why did you invite me here?
Why did you invite me? I even joked with him at the end. I was like, if you guys didn't want me, you should have just said so. So God is really humbling me in this moment. And then at this point, I can't jump in on the memorial acclamation or the amen because you got to those 3 have to be the same. So when we got to those, I was just like, nah, it's all you guys now. So those 3 are done. And then when we get to the closing, again, they're on auto mode for daily Mass. I start playing. We're singing, Oh Maria, da 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 da. Right?
All right.
We get to the first chorus. Deacon goes back and flips off the sound system. Wonderful. So
that's just what they always do.
That's what they always do. So I like get in close to the microphone. I'm like, check in. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely off. But the show must go on. And again, it's not about me singing. So I kind of did one of these like Jerry Lee Lewis, like half stand up things. If you guys are looking, I'm like kind of half standing up.
If you're listening, Ryan is standing up at the table.
And I'm like looking out like, come on, guys, help me out. And we sang the whole song, all 3 verses with no sound system. And it was actually beautiful.
That's awesome.
So, you got to take those moments. They're funny. I appreciated the humor in the moment. I said, I see what you're doing, God. It's humbling me. It's funny, but like, let's use this as an opportunity to help them worship more and lift them up.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
super funny.
That was just today. And I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about.
Oh yeah. Well, see, okay. So the ones I'm going to talk about, the one that always comes to mind first is a little more graphic, a little more intense.
Whoa.
I know. Not to freak you out, but okay. So it's to set the scene here. I used to altar serve. When I was a kid, I altar served for like 12 years. Me and my younger brothers. So me and my middle brother is 2 years younger than me. So we were altar serving, and we were pretty good at altar serving, right? So we were called in when it was a big deal. When the bishop would come to town or there was holidays and stuff, they would call us in.
You guys are like the all-star, the A-team.
The A-team altar servers,
nice.
Right? Brendan and I had like specific things. Brendan's my brother. Awkward. But we had specific things that we would do. Like I was in charge of holding the processional cross, and he was in charge of the bells. Like we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so we get to the consecration, right? And it's Easter. The church is packed. It's 10:30 Mass. It's the most full the church ever is all year long. We're kneeling down. Brennan's getting ready to ring the bells, okay? So we're sitting there, and here we go, and Monsignor's holding up the host during the consecration. Brendan doesn't look so good. I look over, I'm like, hey, you okay, pal? Something's wrong.
Oh, no.
So what happens? Throws up all over the sanctuary. I was like, no.
What? Like a little, like just a little bit?
Not a little bit, like a lot. Like a full on, he's sick. Not like a, oh no, like I'm in trouble here. Like a full on, here we go.
What?
Yeah, it was nuts. So, and of course it attracted some attention, but kudos to the presider, the priest that was saying mass. Didn't faze him. He was in it. He was in that Eucharistic prayer.
Yeah.
But I'm like panicking. I'm like,
did you bring
so I jump over and grab the bells because I got to start ringing dinging.
That's a pro move right there.
And luckily, my youth minister, who's a family friend, like he comes charging up and grabs him and kind of ushers him out to take care of him because he was sick and not feeling good. And I just like threw a towel over the mess and we'll deal with it after mass. And mass continued without missing a beat.
Wow.
And we had to deal with it afterwards, but I'll never forget it because I was sitting there and he like looked at me like panicked, like I'm in trouble here. Poor guy was like, I think he was like 12 at the time, because I was maybe 14, but man, it was funny.
Oh boy.
And I'll never forget it because it was, it had to be Easter, of course. So everyone was there. Even the people that don't go to mass every week, they all saw it.
That is wild.
It was nuts.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
I don't know if I can top that. That's insane.
Yeah.
But kudos to you for stepping up and ringing those bells.
Had to.
Guys, comment in the comment sections below. At your church, do they ring the bells? Do they not ring bells? Or if they ring them, do they continuously ring them, or do they give 3 succinct rings?
I had like a method that I would do. I would like wait a certain time and then I would let it like fade.
Do they give you training on how to ring those bells?
Not that I can remember. I just remember like wanting it to be really nice. I took my altar serving really seriously.
Like if you got it, you got it. You know? If you're
like, I remember I had like a special alb and I would like hide it in the altar server room because that one was my alb.
Nice.
I took it way too seriously.
Speaking of the bells, this happens so many times. As soon as we get like a new altar server in, they always, without a doubt, ring the bells too soon.
Yeah. It's like, just wait for him to stop talking, then you ring the bells. But like he'll be like mid-sentence,
start ringing it. And that's funny. Again, that's the most prayerful moment of mass. So, you try not to let it break you because you gotta stay
focused. But it happens.
So after mass, I always make it a point to the altar servers that I go over. I'm like, you gotta get those young ones in line. Come on,
teach them how to ring the bells and when to do it. Yeah, absolutely, because it can be a beautiful thing, but it can also be like, whoa, what's happening here with these bells? But yeah, so I'll never forget that.
Wow.
It was
I
crazy.
can't top that because most of my stories are musically driven because I couldn't tell you the last time most of the time at mass I'm playing music.
Right.
So most of my funny stories come from that source, and there's been a lot. We could probably have multiple podcasts on all the things that have gone awry musically.
Sure.
I remember distinctively when I was younger, though, when I was not playing music yet, when I was just watching they were called the contemporary choir at that time,
right,
from the congregation. This would happen more times than not, and it was pretty funny. It's going to get a little bit musical, but on the guitar, there's a thing called a capo. Mm-hmm. And it's for guitar players that just want to play basic chords, but they need to play in a different key. And they're like, well, I know G, and I know D, and I know C. Those chords are super cool, and I don't want to get in the B minor business. That's pretty tricky. So we just want to move those. We're going to capo it. We're going to move it up so that we can still play those chords.
Right.
Beautiful. So they play a song with the capo on, all the other bands playing in their respective keys. The next song comes up, and that guitar player forgets to move their capo. And so now they start playing that song, and you're hearing this like cacophony of different keys, and everyone's freaking out because nobody knows what's happening. And
just derails the whole choir.
It derails the whole choir because they're like, do I sing in that key? Do I sing in this key? And like, usually it took them 30 seconds to figure out what's happening. And the whole congregation's like, something's not right. I mean, even if you don't know music, you're like, this isn't it. And it's like, all right, one time. And then it just kept, like mass after mass, you're like, okay, take your capo off.
Well, another one that just comes to mind, we're talking about we'll go back to Easter because it was the Easter Vigil. We were both involved in this one.
Things happen on Easter.
So it was the Easter Vigil, and at the Easter Vigil, you traditionally start outside, and process in with the lighting of the candles and all that stuff. And at our parish, I was helping to like manage when people went in and out and stuff, and there was like a mic and a podium set out outside. And so Monsignor,
but we don't usually have that, right? We only put it out there for Palm Sunday and
Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. So they moved a podium and like hooked it up to the inside system. So when you talked into the mic, they heard you inside,
right?
Which I did not know at the time.
Yeah.
So I remember Monsignor walked in and he was like addressing everyone like, we're going to be starting outside and whatever. And I'm outside and I thought like, oh, I got to turn this mic on. So I'm in it like, check, check, check. And I can't hear it. It's not working. I'm like, oh, it's not working. So I just keep yelling check as loud as I can to this microphone. And meanwhile, inside the church while Monsignor's trying to explain, you just hear me going, check, check, check.
It was obnoxious. I was inside and I run outside. I'm like, dude, you gotta stop.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that was wild.
3 or 4 people are like, the rest of the day, they're like, hey, Danny, check. I'm like, dang it. Like, I was just trying to be helpful.
I think, was it that same mass that we get up to do the responsorial psalm and one of our choir members gets up there, and this has happened more times than one, but this one was the funniest that I remember. This was a 4-pager. It was one that I wrote, and I always write more than everyone's like, can't you just write one that has 2 pages of music only? I'm like, no, you can't
be that
4-pager. She only brought 3 out of the 4 pages up to the ambo.
Oh no!
And we get to the last verse, and I'm like, we had practiced it a bunch, so she knew some of the words. But these weren't them. It was a mix of all the verses together. And I'm like, guys, she's on verse 3. No, she's on verse. What is she saying? I was like, is she having a stroke? What's happening? And then she runs back and just steals a book off of somebody's music stand.
Good on her. She's
then just runs back and continues on it.
See, and I feel like that happens so often than not when these crazy things happen, because they happen to everybody. But most of the time, like 99% of the time, whoever it happens to just continues on. Be like, well, I'm not going to let this stop me. We got to continue going.
Yeah.
It's like when the priest is right about to say, like, they'll be like, reading from the gospel according to whoever, and a baby cries immediately. And it's just like, well, I got to read this gospel. I'm not going to wait for you to calm down. And most of the time they let it flow. And that's the beauty of it. They're like, nothing is going to derail us from the importance of this liturgy.
Exactly.
And that's awesome.
And yeah, that's important, is to stay focused. Now, I've been doing masses for a long time, and so in those moments, I'm thinking like, oh no, what's happening? But like, I don't let it faze me, and I just focus, how can we continue on? Do I need to adjust? Do we let her do her thing and just keep playing? Whatever. But once she's finished, sometimes they want to come back and they want to giggle about it with the choir members, and I'm like, stop, not now.
Giggle afterwards.
And so I make it a point. I say, no matter what happened, something funny, we messed up big time. Even if something's amazing, we want to come back and like give us a hug or pat on the back. Great job. It's like, no, not now. Continue with the mass. Appreciate the beauty of this liturgy that we're a part of. Once mass is over, one of my teachers even told me, let it sit even after mass and wait till like the next rehearsal to talk about it. For me, I'm probably going to forget. So we chat about it after mass.
We talk about we decompress mass
right,
like pretty much instantly.
Yeah, but so laugh about it afterwards,
right.
But make sure you stay focused in mass. That's really important.
Yeah. So moving on to other masses that I've been involved in, you've been involved in, is when we've helped out at like Youth Day or like bigger events.
Sure.
Right. I'll never forget. Sometimes I was on like the liturgy team for a Youth Day like a long time ago, and I remember that we were. Me and several of the teens from Holy Cross were in charge of. We were like the EMs or something, Eucharistic ministers. For those that don't know what an EM, Eucharistic minister.
You're learning too on this channel.
But so we were, we do communion, everything else. Now we're in the back, which is where the sacristy was, but we're at Youth Day, so we're at the Anaheim Convention Center for this mass, and so there's no tabernacle, right? Mm-hmm. So we had a ton of hosts left over, and I'm like, what do we do? And I remember the sacristan at the time, a fellow youth minister who was there, she was like, we got to consume these. She's like, so let's start eating. And so me and 4 or 5 of the other adults were sitting there, and I'll never forget because we were sitting there like I was trying to reverently each time, just like, this is the body of Christ. This is Jesus. Like I'm not gonna treat him like a bag of chips, So I'm like sitting there like trying to reverently, consume these hosts, and the priest comes back and he goes, "Come on, guys, let's go. like eat them and let's roll." And we were like, okay. So like we're just, I think I consumed about 40 hosts of Jesus that day.
Wow.
Because there was so much left over, but we had to consume it. It's Jesus.
Yeah.
So I was feeling pretty holy that day. I could have taken on the world. I was so empowered. My soul was fed.
That's awesome. And you got the exact same amount of Jesus as everybody else.
Right.
Some people, that's a common misconception.
Yeah.
People used to do this in old days. They would go from church to church to try to consume as many hosts as possible on a Sunday.
Like raise their level.
Yeah, they're like, if I can get 6 of them, it'd be super holy. But even say you get to the end of the communion line and they only have one left and they break it into like eighths and you get this little sliver, you got the exact same amount of Christ.
Of course,
as anybody
there's the
else.
same. Yeah, that's Jesus.
Right.
Soul and divinity right there.
Yeah.
In that, no matter how big the morsel is. Yeah. So
this does come up a lot for me, and somebody asked me this question because I often do multiple masses on a weekend, 2, sometimes 3 or 4. Now they said, should you only consume one time? Should you consume twice, 3 times? Is 4 times too many? I was told that as long as you are celebrating a separate liturgy, your intent was not to go just to receive the host, but you were a part of that liturgy.
Right.
Separately, you can consume multiple times in that day, and it's okay.
Okay. Interesting.
Funny story though, since you talked about eating a whole bunch of hosts, it's just like, it's not really a funny story, but it's just something that often happens. Being a music minister, I'm usually one of the last people to receive communion, if not the last.
Right.
And I make it a point to play the piano and play the final communion song or hymn until that moment when the priest sits down and the entire congregation sits down. And I really strive to hit the final note right as everyone sits down. And I'm like, I got it this week. And I try to make that happen. But
environment, you're trying to create a powerful environment for that moment.
Because of that, I often don't have a great time to receive the host.
Right.
Sometimes if it works out with my other choir, when there's multiple piano players, we do like a mid-song switch where he kind of half gets up and he's still playing, and I get down on the other side and we just switch mid. That's super cool when that happens.
That's sweet.
But if it's just me, I got to keep playing. And so the EMs, Eucharistic ministers, they come over and they look at me like, "Do you want to receive right now?" And I'm still singing and playing. I'm like, "Wait, I'm singing," and then I'll stop and they're like, "We got to go. So like, take it or don't." And I'm like, part of me seems, is this irreverent or whatever, but I just kind of like lean over, stick out my tongue and receive while I'm still playing. And
I don't think so, because like I said, you're in that liturgy. You're providing the music to as part of the liturgy.
Right.
So I think that's fine.
And I know some people have a problem with receiving the host. Some in choirs, they receiving the host and then going back and continuing to sing. Like they want to appreciate that moment of having Christ inside them and take it in silence. And if that's what you want to do, I implore you to do that and to take that moment. Me personally, I think my job is to continue to help the congregation to experience the Mass in the best way possible, and that's through music. That's what the gift that I can give. So even if it's stick out my tongue, receive, and then continue to sing, that's important for me.
Yeah, because I think that it's funny because I think that's good, and we should encourage people that if you're involved in Mass, like don't stress. Like if you kind of have to get right back to work, it's not like you're not appreciating consuming Jesus in that moment. Like it's not like there's a window. Like I only have Jesus in me for 30 minutes, so I have to appreciate it now. Like he lives within us, but like when we consume that, like after Mass, taking that moment to appreciate the Eucharist is the same thing.
Exactly.
So
yeah, so that's always an interesting moment. And there's sometimes when I'm doing a lot of like acrobatics, so I'm playing and it's like I don't usually receive on the tongue, so it's like I don't remember how to do this, and like it's awkward often. But
well, yeah. Speaking of that on that topic, like Eucharistic ministers' nightmare a lot of the time is somebody comes up and they do the tongue thing and the hands at the same time. They're like,
what do you do?
Dealer's choice. What do you want? And they're like,
oh man,
what? I don't know what to do here. But yeah, you know what? And okay, so we're talking about EMs and Youth Day. I'm gonna talk about
this one's great. I know what you're gonna talk about. This is great.
So once again, we're at Youth Day, and we were asked to assist with Mass. Like just a couple of our teens were going to be Eucharistic ministers, and it was the first time that you were going to play Youth Day. You were in a band. When you were in Jeremy and Ryan, you guys were going to play Youth Day for the first time.
Right.
And our teens, because you guys were from our church, our teens were so excited to see you guys because it was like hometown boys doing this really big, exciting thing for God. And so they were so pumped. And I remember we got like great seats and we were so excited. And we got asked to do this thing. We're like, well, how are we going to say no to helping with Mass? And I remember saying to the people like, hey, we'll help out, but like we need to be back in our seats when they start music because we don't want to miss it. And they were like, Dad, no problem. It'll be fine. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, so whatever. So we go and we're starting to get trained and whatever. And I'm like, this is taking a while. This is taking a long time. And I remember the first note of your guys' song hit, and I'll never forget this. I'm saying that a lot. But one of the teens looks at me and they go, we're missing it. And I went, let's go. And so all of us just left the training, and me and like five or six teens, we just up and leave. And they were like, what do we do? Like, are you not going to do it anymore? We were gone.
Wow.
And I remember that I was so scared I think we talked about it, I was so scared to ever like meet the person that had asked me to help like face to face again, because I just bailed on them completely. And it ended up, I didn't know at the time, but it ended up being like one of the people in charge of Youth Day, and we're friends now and we laugh about it, but man, it was so funny. You
do what you got to do, and I appreciate the support on that.
We just bailed.
That's amazing. Wow. So many great EM and Eucharist stories. And again,
get up from behind the piano. Funny things will happen to you.
Embrace the awkward. I see it from the piano often. I do a lot of special liturgies like weddings and funerals, and often in those, people come to Mass that don't normally come to Mass, and people don't know what to do. And a lot of like Christians come and they think they don't know that the host is actual body and of Jesus Christ. And so they're like, oh, I can go up because it's a symbol and I'll just receive. And a lot of them don't know it. And they're like, oh, we get a snack? Sweet. Let me come up and grab one.
Like, no.
And, they take it. And I think it's very rare that anyone comes up with ill intent, but they'll grab the host and they'll walk back to the pew with them and like, oh, I'm just playing the communion song at like a wedding. I'm like, oh, all right, there goes this guy, and I see Monsignor
goes charging
running after him.
Like, there's no to go, Jesus. It's now.
It's right
there's
now.
There's no to go.
Yeah, so that stuff happens all the time. We got to really quick change out this camera, but I'm going to come back with like probably the most awkward thing that's happened to me. Again, if anyone knows how to record longer on a Sony A7 III, hit your boy Ryan up. Tell me, but we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
All right, we're back. As promised, probably the most awkward thing that's ever happened to me is I was announcing it was just a regular...
Like welcoming, I think.
It was a Mass by myself, and I usually have my cantor do the welcoming and everything. And I do 2 different churches every Sunday. One's Holy Cross, one's St. Julie's, and I was super tired. It was an early Mass, and I was like, good morning, everyone, and welcome to St. Julie's. Oh, no. It's
not where we are.
Wrong church. Like, how do you go back from that? And everyone's like, boo. What do you do? I was just like, I had to. It was either move on and just ignore it, but like you can't ignore that.
Here's
one.
the deal. Knowing you probably gave them a full like. Sorry guys, I do Mass at 2 different churches, and so I got confused. Everyone's like,
that's pretty much what happened. And like the kids in my choir will never let me live that down. How do you come back from that? Like, go back to St. Julie's. We don't want you here.
It's funny. It's beautiful.
Embrace the awkward.
Yeah, it's
funny stories later. What are you gonna do?
Oh man.
All right, we're almost wrapped up. I'm sure we could talk funny stories for hours and hours, but you guys. Maybe you'd want to listen to that. Maybe if you like it, we can come back with episode 2 of Funny Stories. But for now...
Because we're going to keep going to Mass, so more stuff is going to happen.
That's right. But I think we could wrap this up with a quick speed round. No long stories, but just real quick.
Just things that happen that everyone can relate to?
Yeah.
That happened in Mass?
Yeah.
This is like a game show.
I know.
Okay. Who's going first?
You go first.
Okay. when you're ushering and people drop the money all over the place and you have to clean it up.
Oh man, I did a mass in a gym for VBS, like little kids, and there was a kid at the Eucharistic prayer running circles around all the seats and the altar, and I'm like, where's the parent? It took about 8 laps for them to grab the kid. And I was like, you should have done that 8 laps ago. All right, next.
Oh no, when people faint in church.
Oh, that was mine.
Sorry, bro. It's a game show.
Yeah, that's right.
But that happens.
Okay. I had this one's actually like a cool moment. I call him Ninja Priest. I was at a retreat and we were outside, and he was giving the host to me and the last music minister, but he had extra hosts. And I look at him, I go, give me 2, or I was like 2 left, and he gives me 2, and I was like, I can't give this host back to him. But then I realized he just had extra, so he gave me 2. He gave the last guy 4, but he was not expecting 4, so he grabs 3 of them and 1 drops. And this priest, without missing a beat, he reaches down and snags it inches off the floor. And
that's what they learn in seminary. It's one of the classes.
How to grab
host catching.
Oh man, it was amazing. So Ninja Priest, I'll never forget that moment. That was awesome.
Let's see if I can think of one. On Ash Wednesday, when you get in line with a priest or a deacon that you know really well, and they hit you with just the biggest ashes of all time.
It's just a giant.
It's
blob.
not even a cross. It's just like a. Blah. Yeah.
That's awesome. I can tell music stories forever, but key change mishaps. This one was funny. The director, our sign for key change is both hands, all your fingers moving up. We're moving up, right?
Right.
I look over at the director, and I thought he was holding up 1s, and I was like, oh, sweet, go to verse 1. So the entire band went key change up, and I go back to verse 1, and so again we had that
find each other.
Yeah, and it was a good amount of time where we were playing in 2 different keys. It was amazing.
What about in quite audio feedback? So you get that terrible sound, and you're just like, ugh.
Oh, last thing, yeah. It was our new pastor's installation mass, and we had no idea. This happened about 12 times during the mass, and we didn't figure it out till after the mass. But every time our bass players. We had 2 bass players that were trading off because it was all our choirs combined. They would unplug basses to plug so they could use their own bass.
Oh, I remember.
Every time they unplugged the bass, you would hear this in the whole sound system.
What is that?
It happened way too many times, and it was the most awkward thing ever.
Yeah, we had Bishop Barron there, just oh, cool. All right, so I think that's probably good. Yeah. We'll save the rest for later. But at the end of the day, I want to end with this. I was watching Father Mike Schmidt for Ascension Presents the other day, and when he talks about Mass, he made a video talking about it in a way that I had never thought about, and I thought it was incredible. And I think that all these crazy things that distract us, all of the things or the times where we go to Mass and the homily isn't really engaging, or we're just not there, spiritually, mentally, we're just kind of going through the motions of Mass, and we're I'm not getting anything out of Mass, or the days where we don't want to go, I'd rather sleep in or whatever. He made it a point to say, who is Mass about? It's not about you. It's not about what you get out of it. Mass is about worship, and it's about going to be there for God. It's about going to worship God because of everything He's given you. God gives us everything, and love is about sacrifice. And even if you're sacrificing that time, you're going there to be in prayer and give back to God for everything He gives you. That's what Mass is about. And God is just so good. He also gives you the Eucharist and the Word of God and all that stuff. So something that should be all about God, God is so good, He still gives stuff to us. And I thought that was the craziest. I was like, oh, I'm never missing Mass again.
Amen.
I thought it was so cool.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a great way to end. Funny stuff happens, but we keep going. We keep practicing our faith no matter what. We appreciate the funny, and we have a profound reverence and deep spiritual connection to the liturgy, to Christ.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate all of the emotions and all of the everything that God gives us. We take it all in. So
we have to appreciate the Masses that are beautiful and they don't miss a beat, and it's just the most incredible spiritual experience. But we also got to appreciate the ones maybe sometimes where it's completely out of the box and there's a whole bunch of things that go wrong and all that stuff. At the end of the day, the Mass can't go wrong because you have the Eucharist. You have Jesus there present, and so no matter what happens, Mass is a beautiful thing.
Amen, brother.
So let's do our plugs and we'll get out of here. Once again, this is we're talking about Mass. This is our closing announcements.
Beautiful.
Follow us on all of our social media: Instagram, Twitter. Like our page on Facebook, 2 Catholic Dudes, and listen to us where you listen to podcasts. We're available on all listening podcast places. And subscribe to Ryan Clouse on YouTube. That's where all of these podcasts are going to be for the time being. But give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. Something that we're going to try to start is we want to do every episode. We want to answer a question from our viewers. So if you have a question or things you want us to talk about, put it in the comments. You can send us an email at twocatholicdudes@gmail.com. We did have a couple people reach out to us just like on questions about topics and things they want us to talk about. So we love that engagement. Keep it up. So yeah, if we have questions for us, please comment, send us an email, message us on Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
Just we want to connect and communicate with you guys.
Yeah,
so
keep those coming. If we get enough of those questions, we'll do an entire episode Q&A or answering your questions. I would love to do that.
That'd be awesome.
But we need that engagement from you guys. So we appreciate the support, but keep it coming. We love you guys. Again, Patreon, if you want to support us financially, we appreciate that.
Yeah, please consider supporting us in that way. Anything is more than generous. We're really appreciative of that. Just keeps us going and keeps us being able to do this ministry.
Love it. All right. Episode 3, that's a wrap. We'll see you guys next week. We'll do it again.
Yeah, so hit mass and then put in the comments the crazy things that happen.
Yeah, tell us what funny stories, what crazy things have happened at your masses.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it soon.
All right, God bless you.
All right.